To talk about this and unpack what we've seen so far out at this T20 World Cup and speak about other topics of interest, we've roped in News 24 senior sports journalist Khanyiso Tshwaku. A good morning to you, Khanyiso. Always a pleasure chatting to you here on Morning Live. And Khanyiso, I want to start and talk about what we've seen in terms of the batting at this particular World Cup, and let's focus on the Proteas because our top three batsmen, they just seem to be struggling. And I remember watching the one game and I was just like, oh, we're now crossing fingers for Miller time to come through. We know these batters do have the runs in them, but when we look at the performances so far, what do you think has gone wrong? Because they just seem to be so neutral in this World Cup.
Good morning, V, and good morning to the viewers. Look, we have to look back at the fact that they've been playing on a very difficult pitch in New York. I mean, even when you watch a lot of the other games that have concluded, and we saw the India-USA game, which was the last game at the Nassau County International Cricket Ground. Again, batting was a struggle. At least India this time actually sized up their target and used them in order to get there. So I think if I understand to be correct, I think only 3 or 4 50s were scored at the ground. So you can mitigate for bad form, but also though the conditions, as much as a cricket purist, I was kind of happy seeing bowlers actually dominate, especially in a T20 event. I think at some point the conditions did go too much in one direction, whereas what you really want as a cricketer and as a cricket fundy is a balance between conditions. I suspect that with the bulk of the tournament now, moving to the West Indies for the Super 8s. Starting with South Africa's game later Saturday morning when they played Nepal in Kingstown. Wanted to hope that these conditions will be a bit more equitable, where there's a better balance in the contest between bat and ball.
And we do hope so indeed, but I mean the surface and just those facilities out in the USA have been shocking to say the least. Let's speak though about how we've gotten the opportunity to see the likes of Miller and Klaasen having to step up in what has been tricky conditions, and they've really been able to get the job done for us when those moments came through.
Yep. I think in times past, you'd find that the middle order doesn't always get enough batting time because of the excellence of the top order. The fact that the middle order now is properly cooked leading into the leading into that game, it becomes very important that they don't have batting time. I think now, starting with the Nepal game, and then when you look at Super 8, so South Africa will be playing 2 games in Antigua, one of them against the West Indies. Antigua hasn't been a ground that's been used much. So I think now the West Indies will offer, still, the batting conditions won't be as easy. It will offer them an opportunity for the top order batters to at least understand that they're playing in cricket conditions. They're not playing on a drop-in square. They're playing on cricket grounds with a pitch square. It's just a case of how then the grounds that they'll be playing on will be responding to the ball come the matches, especially when they play the West Indies in their last Super 8 game on the 23rd of June.
Indeed, and you touch on the fact that from tomorrow onwards, the tournament will be taking place out in the Caribbean Islands. Let's talk about looking forward to getting more of those conventional wickets coming through from South Africa. What are your expectations now moving forward for the rest of the tournament?
Look, I mean, firstly, they just need to win all 3 games. I think as South Africans at times we've been married to how the Proteas win instead of just letting them win. They haven't been to the T20 World Cup semi-finals in 10 years now. Remember, they lost that in Bangladesh. Group stage exits, Super 8 exits over the past 10 years. So I think it just becomes important that they just narrow down to just making sure that they win. If we, I mean, the one team that we can use as a benchmark is Australia. Australia have long not cared about how they've won tournaments. It's just
they just want to win.
Got someone to stick their page in. They just want to win. So I think South Africa do have a very good opportunity. I think the last round of group stage games this weekend will determine who we actually play in the Super 8. I know that the West Indies game, the last one is confirmed because the other side of the draw is pretty much nearly finished. But our side of the draw isn't completed yet, so we need to just see which other 2 teams we're going to play in the group stage. So the one game that is confirmed and will probably be a pressure cooker test for the Proteas is the West Indies game on the 23rd of this month.
And as I wrap up with you, Khanyiso, let's speak about Gary Kirsten's Pakistan side, because they seem to be a bit indifferent in this tournament. And I also just do want to touch on New Zealand, because for them, they're currently in a spot of bother. And we saw them losing yesterday, which was a shock result for many people. Let's quickly touch on those two teams as we wrap up.
Yeah. Look, Pakistan are unpredictable when it comes to ICC events. You never know which team will rock up on the day. Look, they need the result to go their way. If the other result goes their way and they win, probably that's the team you least want to face in the Super 8 stage, because once they have their backs to the wall, they just become a different breed. I think for New Zealand, their team has come to an end of a cycle, and it happens to every other team. I mean, New Zealand in the past 10 years have been absolutely magnificent at ICC, the white ball events, without actually winning it, even though they won the Test Championship in 2021. I think what becomes important now is that they need to rebuild a new cycle now. So it's just one of those where the New Zealand team's at an end of a cycle. They need to pretty much now find a new nucleus of players to take them through to the next cycle of ICC events.
All right, well, we'll see how it goes for them, Khanyiso. Always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure.